Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. This is the 2 o'clock Central Time of our Day of Digital today. My name is Trigby. I'm the Director of Buzz Development at BusyWeb. We're a digital service agency based in the Twin Cities. And before I get started, I want to have just a bit of housekeeping. If you are following on the YouTube page specifically, I want to give you an opportunity to take a look here. I will share my full screen with you, and you can see over on this part right here where my cursor is, there is an opportunity to share questions with me. If you're watching this live, I will absolutely do my best to monitor it and answer any questions you might have during it. If you want to, feel free and say that you're watching so that I know that that's working correctly. I would love it. And let me present to everybody so you can see there. It's right there. It's right here. If you just say, hi, everyone, that'd be perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my sharing here and switch to just a bigger version of our presentation today. Today we're going to be talking about your website and how bad it is. This is something that we deal with at BusyWeb on a regular basis, people who think that their website is good enough. I'm going to explain to you why it's not good enough and why you need to be making some substantive changes to make sure that it is operating in the way in which you'd like it to operate. So one more piece of housekeeping. This is a collaborative event with a number of people around the country. So if you are interested in seeing some other Day of Digital events, I strongly encourage them. There are a lot of really smart, really great people who are doing events today. And I'd encourage you to take a look at all of them. So once again, if you want to ask me a question in real time, you can go to the YouTube page and check it out. But I'm going to minimize that window so that I can focus more on the presentation today. So for those of you who are new to our Busy Webinar series, again, my name is Trigby. I am with BusyWeb. We are a full-service digital agency that's based in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Our focus is on the entire digital experience for our clients. So that entails building a website, repairing websites, getting websites focused to where we want them to be, to building out an audience, building out lead generation, getting our audience to do what we want them to do, and getting those people to do to become clients and become prospects, and really anything under the sun as it relates to digital we can handle for you. Some of our biggest clients have been Ronald McDonald House, the United Nations, and there's a local fella up here in Minneapolis who passed away recently by the name of Prince, who we built a website for. So we have a pretty good understanding of what we're doing. But what I want to talk about today is this classic scene from a movie called Glengarry Glen Ross. It's originally a play from David Mamet, and it is very abrupt. And anybody who's in the sales industry can tell you horror stories about this and how this movie and play opens up their eyes. And it's a great metaphor as it relates to your website. And so I want to go back and start with the basics. And so one of the thrusts of this is that you should always be closing. A, always, B, C, closing. This is the position that you are putting your website in. Your website should absolutely be your #1 salesperson, the #1 lead generator, the #1 thing that your prospects are looking at, because they are constantly looking at you online. And when they are looking at you, they are looking for reasons to not buy from you. They are not looking for reasons to buy from you. And your website needs to give them every answer that they want, answer every objection, and give them no other choice but to say yes. And if it doesn't, then you are lacking, and your website is lacking, and your sales process is lacking. And it's time to stop that, and it's time to go another way. So let's break this down a little farther, because everybody has this great idea. Oh, my website's fine. It's good. It's, I don't really want to invest anymore. So I'm willing to sacrifice a certain amount of what I think I should do for the sake of doing it. Well, that's because by and large, you probably think that this happens, that your customers are sitting there waiting. They go to work, they have a nice cup of coffee, and they sit and they really have evaluative thought processes as they read your website and make decisions and pick up the phone and call you based on what they read, and everything's happy and happy-go-lucky. But that doesn't actually happen. In the real world in which we all live in, what happens is this is when people are going to start evaluating you. It's 10 o'clock at night. It took them an hour and a half to put the kid to bed. They're tired, they're exhausted, and they're now sitting down in front of a TV screen and having an iPad on their lap, and now they're going to be going through their day and making quick browsing decisions and figuring out whether or not they want to pick up the phone and call people the next day. I know this because statistically over the course of BusyWeb's career, we've made literally thousands of websites, and if you look at the analytics, this does actually happen. So your website absolutely needs to be on the forefront of a 24/7 sentinel. No matter when people look at your website, it has to be as good as if they had a salesperson in front of them. To put this a different way, let me ask you a hypothetical question. How confident are you with a prospect alone with your website? Are they able to figure out what you want them to do? Are they able to figure out what you sell and how you sell it? And if not, what is the alternative? Where are they going to go? Well, more than likely what will happen is they are going to go to Google, and they're going to find somebody else who's done what they've done. So they're going to be gone. So how do we change this? How do we fix this? There's ways in which you can look at your website, and I'm going to talk today about how we evaluate your website to figure out what changes you need to make. Based on our experience, there's a couple of very basic things that you can do to change and make this a better closing website for you. So let's look at the blackboard behind Alec. Let's start with the basics. He says A always, B, C closing. The next stage is your buyer's journey, AIDA. Number one, attention. Does your website grab their attention? I, interest. Is your website interesting to them? Is it not what you think is interesting? Is it interesting to what your client wants? D, decision. Are you asking them to do something? And then A, action. Are you giving them the opportunity to take an action and move forward in a positive way and create an engagement point for you? If you're not doing those four things, well, it's time that you start, because your competition is going to be doing it. So if you're saying to yourself, my website is good enough for right now, or it's good enough to start, it does not cut it anymore. You wouldn't hire a salesperson with the idea that he would, excuse me, he or she would just be good enough. You would hire the best possible salesperson you could get. And continue to hope that that salesperson evolves and grows and helps you sell product or service in your company, and take it from there. So I'm going to give you just a second to catch up, because I put on mute so I could cough, and you guys didn't have to hear that. So hopefully that'll catch back up in just a second. So it doesn't cut it anymore. It's time to start looking at your website as an actual headcount in your organization. It is a salesperson, it is a marketing tool, and it needs to be treated as such. So let's look at how we do some of the basic mistakes that we see all the time. Number one, you forget about your customers, and you actually literally push them away. Now, all of you are experts in what you do, and all of you are experts in the field, so I get that, and that's a wonderful thing to be. However, there's a there's a disconnect between what you think your customers want to hear and what they want to hear, and it kind of looks like this. So here's what you want to tell them, and then here's what your customers want to hear. So some of what you want to tell them isn't what they want to hear. Maybe they need to do it, maybe they don't want to do it, whatever. The point is, you want to be living right here in the middle. And if you aren't telling your customers what they want to hear, you're not grabbing their attention to the extent that they can really help, or they can really take the next step in your buyer's journey. And at that point, they're going to go find somebody else. It's as simple as that. Or they're going to reject you out of hand. So it's absolutely critical that you start by asking yourself, what do your customers want to hear from you, and what's the most important thing that they want to talk about? That's how you need to structure your website, not what you think is most important. And oftentimes there's a very clear disconnect when we deal with our customers and we advocate change for our customers. Next, they can't contact you. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a website that doesn't have a basic phone number in an easy to find place. 50% of the time, more than likely, your customers and your prospects are just looking for a way to call you. So they want to look up your website. And if they can't find you and they can't see you, or it's frustrating to get to, they're gone. They're going to go find somebody else. They're going to not call you. They aren't going to take the step that you need to take. So if it's not happening, you need to create some redundancies in how you present your basic contact information. Make sure it's in the header, make sure it's in the footer, make sure it's on the contact us page. Make sure that you have several different kinds of contact information that you can give people so that they can contact you in any different ways. Do you have a social media presence? If you do, let's make sure that it's accessible via your website so people don't have to go hunting for you. If you have a social media presence, make sure that you're listening to what people say about you and that you are responding accordingly. Nothing's worse to see than a company that has a Facebook page that has a 6-week-old complaint on it that they haven't done anything about. So when you're looking for whether or not your customers can start with you and you can grab their attention, you need to make sure, just on the simple fact of the matter, they need to be able to contact you easily. Similarly with this, if you're not asking them to contact you and asking them to engage with you, if you think that your website is built for the sake of education, then your customers aren't going to buy from you. I don't need to be educated from anybody I want to buy from. All I want is the opportunity to buy. If I want to be educated, that's great. I'll go take a class, I'll go to the library, I'll read a book, I'll read something on the internet. But if I'm evaluating a company, I absolutely don't want to be educated. I want to be told what I want to hear and how I can go about buying it. So that's number 2, that they can't contact you. Number 3, this is a big one because this is oftentimes very challenging for small businesses, that whether or not your site is on search or not. It's a little known fact that you actually have to register your site with a search engine for the search engine to be able to crawl it. So if you're complaining about your site not being able to be found or that your search rankings are poor, first thing you need to do is make sure that your website is actually registered with search engines. Obviously, the biggest one is Google. That's where you need to start. If you have gotten a discount website or a website that you didn't pay a whole lot of money for, or it was a frustrating process, it's a good thing to do is to check that and make sure that it is in fact connected to search engines. And what happens is, if it's connected to search engines, about every 5 days, Google will come by and re-index your entire site. The Google robot will come by, they'll read it, they'll check it, they'll see how it's working, they'll see what's new, and they'll check the keywords based on that. Why is this important? Well, a lot of times people just simply aren't connected to search engines. So spending a lot of money on a concept like SEO, where there are people who will try and tell you how important SEO is. Well, yeah, that's true. It's absolutely very, very important. But there are some elementary things that you need to do ahead of time to make sure that that's even more valuable. And one of them is making sure that your site is on search. Should you spend a lot of money on SEO? There's a varying degrees of thought on that. My answer is yes, but with an asterisk. Yes, you should. However, SEO works best in concert with many other things. It works best when you're doing email marketing, social media marketing, writing new content, adding new content to your website. Just paying somebody a little amount of money to do SEO isn't going to be a valuable enterprise for your business. Last, as we're talking about search, one of the things that we deal with a lot in the customers that we see at BusyWeb is people who think that they can have a discount SEO service. So by and large in this day and age, no matter where you are in the country, if you need to hire a plumber, it's going to cost you anywhere from $80 to $100. If you hire an HVAC person, somebody to fix your heat or air conditioning, again, that's going to cost you about $100 an hour. So similarly, if you want to hire an SEO person, you need to expect to pay about that much. There are companies out there that will try and sell you a $200 a month solution. They will not actually do anything substantive for your site. And I'd encourage you, if you have that arrangement right now, you should get rid of it. Just simply get rid of it. It's not worth doing. Anything worth their salt to have an expert do will cost you money to leverage that expertise. And if you don't have that, if you're paying less for that, it's time to change and look at something else. Now, finally, before I leave this slide, there's a punchline that comes to all of this. Why is this important? It's because only 2% of searchers go to the second page of a Google search. So is being on page 2 enough? No, because anybody who's going to look to try and buy from you isn't going to go to that second page. The only people who really go to the second page are the people who are trying to find themselves on Google, really. Oop, went the wrong way. All right, next. Do you know if anybody actually visits your site? You have this website, you have this opportunity to engage and deal with new people, new prospects, new customers, existing customers. Do you have any idea how many people are visiting your site? Is it enough? Well, by and large, if you're a decent sized business, you should be getting 500 to 1,000 visits a month, unique visits a month, if not more. That's sort of bare bones. You need to be having 5 to 10 people a day look at your website. If you don't have that, well, then it's time to institute some marketing practices to get people to look at your site and decide whether, and have those people who are looking at you decide whether or not they want to convert and start dealing with you offline, making an evaluative buying decision. One of the easiest ways you can check to see if you have a lot of visits to your site is a program called Google Analytics. This is a free program that's available to just about anybody. You'll have to have a developer do some of the work for you. I mean, you can figure it out. It's a little challenging, but if you've got that website out there and it's not interacting with anybody, you're not getting any leads, the first thing to check is treat it like a salesperson. How many people is that salesperson getting in front of on a daily basis? And if it's not enough, then it's not functioning correctly, and you need to start feeding that salesperson more leads. There are ways in which to do that. A lot of what's being talked about today and during this day of digital, there's a lot of really effective strategies to do that, but this is the elemental thing that you need to look at first. If you have a salesperson who's not having any sits and not sitting down with anybody, it's time to start feeding that salesperson differently. Next, you're not actually asking them to do anything. This gets back to the same idea that I had earlier of the idea of educating somebody. If you want to educate me as a consumer, that's great. That doesn't mean I'm going to buy from you, because what's going to happen is I'm going to read your site and go, okay, thank you. Now I still want to buy something, but I don't have the opportunity to buy from you. I want to have the opportunity to not only be educated, but also know what I want to see, which is an opportunity to buy. So if you're not asking to have a creative jumping off point where you're saying, I need you to do something for me in exchange for this piece of information that you've gotten on my website, then they're not going to buy from you. They're simply just going to leave. The easiest way to check this is based on the last slide where we talked about Google Analytics. If you have a lot of people coming to your site, but they're not doing anything, they're not interacting with you after the fact, by and large, it's probably because you're not asking them to do anything. So what do I mean by that? That's what's referenced in marketing speak as a call to action. A lot of the words that I have on screen here, click, call, free, CTA, download, contact. These are all very small things that you're asking of your prospects. Will you do this very small thing? And eventually what will happen is the more very small things they do, the bigger things that you can ask of them. So would you click on this link to read more? Okay, great. Would you give me some contact information so I could reach out? Could I send you an email? Could I reach out and ask how you like that piece of information? then can we sit down together for coffee and talk about whether or not we should work together? Okay, great. Can I show you a demo of my product? Would you be interested in a proposal? Okay, now would you like to purchase from me? That's about a 10-step process, which gets bigger and bigger as you go on, because what you're really trying to do is establish trust. You're trying to say to the people that you're working with, do these small things first, and I'm going to reward you for it, so that down the road, when I'm offering something much bigger and asking something much bigger of you, then you're going to be you're going to want to say yes. And all of those people who are coming to you, they want to say yes. They really desperately want to give you money. They want to hire you to do the thing that you do, but your website is getting in the way. So make sure that you're asking people to do something by having really effective calls to action. Next, other things that we see of websites that are considered good enough by people that we deal with, a lot of times what we see as a major fault is you're not actually capturing any information. So from that, what I mean is this: if you're not asking for a piece of information, a small piece of information, things like, can I have your phone number? Can I show you a video? Can I, in exchange for something, can I get a piece of information? You're not really creating any sort of start to a journey to start working together. Really, you're just being in that educational spot again. So you need to actually start capturing things. You can do these by simple things like, please give me your email. I'll put you on my email newsletter. Or click here to download an ebook, something that I can give you about the top 10 reasons why you should work with a company like mine. All of these get into the idea of giving you a real substantive way to reconnect with somebody and ask another small bite-sized yes into something else. And if that's not happening, then you need to go back and start doing that. Again, standing on the corner and educating people is great, but it's not going to actually start to close you any business. So reevaluate your website and ask, am I asking people for an exchange of information? Am I just giving people information, or am I exchanging information for another thing? Finally, and this is crucial in this day and age, because this is something that personally annoys me every time I have this problem. So if I go to visit somebody, I'm a middle-aged man. I think I know where everything is. I'm going to get in the car and drive. And invariably what will happen is I will get lost. So I'll pull out my phone and I will click on the map. I will click on a website, and then I will try to figure out where I'm going or call them. And if on my phone. So if I can't dial the number, what that means is I have to pull over, I have to sit down, I have to memorize the phone number, and then switch back from my phone app to the web browser and actually get the thing written down, which drives me absolutely batty. Similarly with addresses. If I don't know where I'm going, I need help in how to get there. So the easiest way to do this, this is from BusyWeb's website. This is our phone number and our address. And if you if you look at our website and look at our address on a mobile device, what ends up happening is you get directions from where you are to our offices. And it asks you to connect the dots. So it makes your life easier. Again, realize that when people are looking at you, they don't want to buy from you. They want a reason to say no. What you need to do is give them every reason to say yes. So if you're looking for my address, great. Click on it and I'll even show you how to get there. Now, is that capturing a lot of information? No, it's just providing somebody a better way to communicate with me with the information that they already have. A lot of times you'll see this in newer created websites, responsive websites, or another way to put it is screen agnostic websites. There's a lot of different ways to say this, but if your website doesn't have that click-through capability, it's time to change and it's time to do something else. This is my favorite one. This happens a lot. So I have these conversations with people, and then they go back and they change their contact field. And what they want to do is they want to ask too many things, and they want to get as much contact information as they can possibly get. So they say, okay, well, let me ask you this. So this is a good representation of what your customer is coming into your website. So you say, well, tell me your name. Oh, okay. Tell me your company name. How about your company industry? What industry are you in? Oh, and what's your address? Oh, and are you the decision maker? Are you the job title? By the way, what's your phone number? Oh, and I'm going to need your email as well. Maybe tell me your social security number, what your pain points are. How did you find us? Do you know John, by the way? And at that point, what will happen is your customer will either leave or they will turn into this. So now you've just taken somebody who's not looking to give you a good reason to say yes. And now you've just made them angry by asking them a lot of different things. And then they're going to continue to go further. What interested you on our website? Do my job for me. Tell me what you want to buy from me. Are you the decision maker? God, that's an insulting question to ask people right off the bat. It's the salesperson's job to figure out who's the best person to make the decision. Next, what's your budget? Am I too expensive for you? Can you just tell me that up front so I don't even have to bother to call you? And finally, what do I need to do to get you into this product today? I want to make as many sales as possible. Could you just tell me if you're going to buy? And, oh, can you pay by credit card? Because I really need the money right now. These are all things that I've seen in the last 12 months that people have on their contact form on their website. If you're asking these many questions, people are going to do this. They are going to just disappear on you. They're going to go. So the question that you need to ask yourself is, what's the least amount of information can you have that you can move forward with? By and large, a name, a company name, and a good way to contact them is a great way to start. Either an email or a phone number, some way that I can have an understanding of who you are, where you work, and how I can call you back. That's it. More than that, that's the job of your sales force to take on for you. Now, I'm sure at that point you're asking, well, gosh, Trigby, you're saying that my website needs to be a salesperson. Why shouldn't they be able to do that for you? It can, but that's another few steps down the road, and that gets into a complicated discussion of user experience that doesn't really jive with a basic small business website. It's possible, yes, but is it something that you should do as a best practice? Not so much. And there he goes. Next, one last way you are not giving your customers a reason to buy from you is you're not offering the frequently asked questions that you get all the time. So consider this. Every single one of you who can hear me are an expert in what you do. And every single one of you, anytime you sit down in front of somebody, they're going to ask you pretty much a standard set of questions. Those are objections. Can you answer those? Yes, because you're in business, you're doing the thing, you're going to have answers to the common objections. So include those on your website. Remember that person that I showed you on the couch. It's late. They don't necessarily have their full capacity, and you're certainly not their full attention at that point. They're going to come up with reasons not to buy from you. So the more that you can answer those questions ahead of time, and give them reasons not to say no and give them an opportunity to say yes, the happier they're going to be. So I know that this was rough, and I thank you for staying with me. I was hoping to jar you out of the idea that my website is good enough. So here's the question of the day. What are you going to do about it? I have a couple of solutions for you. Here's how we view the buyer's journey at BusyWeb. It breaks down into 4 different parts. Identify themselves as a buyer. That gets to the attention. Do I have your attention? Connect with me in some way. That's the I of Alec Baldwin's AIDA. Do I have an interest? Is what I offer interesting to you? The third part is explore. Again, that's the D. Can I give you an opportunity to make a decision with you and with me? Are you ready to say yes? Not the big yes of whether or not you'll give me a whole lot of money, a little yes. Will you stay here? Will you click here? Will you share this? Small little things. And then finally, advise. How do you convert those opportunities into customers? That's that action point that Alec Baldwin was talking about. How do you take them from there? To put that in a different way, there's a 3-stage buying process that you have to take your users through on any website. The awareness, where they're coming and evaluating you. Next, are they considering taking an action with you, and then third, giving them the opportunity to make that decision. If you're not doing these things, it's time to reevaluate your website, and it's time to rebuild your website so that your website does act as an effective sales tool. I made this point earlier. I want to make it again. Is your website, if your website is a salesperson, how high up in the organization are they? Are they your worst salesperson or are they your best salesperson? If it's your worst, then you need to get rid of them and find a new one. Next, I want you to bet on engagement and connecting with the right prospects. Again, let's think of this in terms of a salesperson. If your salesperson is seeing a lot of people and they're not making a lot of sales, their chances are good they're not getting in front of the right people. If they're just not talking to anybody at all, well, then they need to change that as well, and they need to connect with the right prospects. So if you think about that in a sales-based environment, are they seeing people? Great. Are they seeing the right people? Great. Then you can evaluate whether or not and judge their effectiveness. If not, then your website has to take that into effect, into consideration. You need to be feeding them just like you would give a salesperson leads, and you need to be giving them the right leads so they're not wasting your time and your money. Next, use a CRM. I can't stress this enough. I resisted more than anybody, and there probably is somebody in the office right now listening to this who's laughing as I talk about the value of a CRM, because I'm not always the best at filling out my information in the CRM. But it's absolutely critical for the success of your organization to write down what's happening with what people, so that as you're sharing this information with other parts of your team, that they know what you've talked about and they've known how you've shaped conversations. I shape conversations situationally very differently depending upon the people I deal with. So I want to make sure that I give that to my team. And if I am sick or if I'm out, my son had surgery last week, I was out for several days, somebody had to continue to make my calls for me, and I needed to provide them with that information. Also, you want to make sure that you're driving visitors towards a specific next action. What's that call to action that you really want them to do? Do you want them to pick up the phone? Okay, great. How do I do that? How do I call you? How can you technologically make it easy for me so all I have to do is touch the phone number to do? Do you want me to fill out a form? Okay, great. Where's the form? What do I get for it? Why should I give you this information? Give people a compelling reason to take that specific next action. And lastly, make sure that you're measuring. There's an old saying that if you're not measuring, you're not marketing. But just like if your website was a salesperson, you absolutely critically need to track their results. Are they giving you what you need out of that position in the organization? If they're not, then they're not creating a return on your investment. It is not money well spent. And at that point, you say, well, gosh, Trigby, I've already put the money into it. I don't really want to reinvest in it. So therefore, it's provided a return on my investment. My response to that is absolutely not. How many sales are you losing if your website isn't functioning and doing what you need it to do? There's an opportunity cost that you're losing by having a bad website. So, as a way to provide you with a certain amount of comfort and where do you go from here, I want to give you a free tool that we have at BusyWeb that will lay out some of the good things and the bad things that are happening on your website. This is free. It'll take you about a minute. If you go to busyweb.com/buzz and fill this out, it's very simple. You get first name, last name, email, and your website URL. That's pretty much it. We'll give you a good 15-page report telling you everything that you're doing well and everything that you need to improve on. If sitting through this, if you're still not sure, it's a great tool to use to give you an understanding what you need to do next. Again, it only takes about a minute, and if you'd like, I could even follow up with you and help you decipher some of it, because some of it gets a little numbery, but I'm more than happy to provide that to you for staying with me and listening intently. Next, this is a Constant Contact Day of Digital, and Constant Contact is a great program that we encourage you to take a look at and evaluate. If you are interested, you can go to constantcontact.com or even busyweb.com/cc and get a free 60-day trial. It's a fantastic product to start with. There's no hidden fees or any hidden credit cards or anything like that. That's not something that they do, not the way that they do. If you do want to try it out for 3 months, they are offering a bit of a discount. I'd encourage you to take a look at that. If you feel like your website's great, but you need to start getting more people to look at it, Constant Contact is a great way to double down on your own success. And this is a pretty sweet deal. This is the same deal that everybody's offering today, so feel free and check it out. And then finally, if you would like to hear more from us at BusyWeb, I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to hear what we can do to be of service. The easiest way to join our list is to text 228-BUSY, the word busy, B-I-Z-Z-Y, to 22828, and you'll get added to our email list. It's a fun little way to start your engagement with us, and it also is a constant contact tool. So if you're thinking about constant contact, it's something that we use to help grow our engagement as well. So thank you, everybody, for joining. My name is Trigby. I'm the Director of Buzz Development here at BusyWeb. If you're interested in getting a copy of this or you'd like to see my deck, I'm more than happy to provide it for you. Just feel free and email me at trigby@busyweb.com. I also have my phone number on there, too. So somebody back in the office probably wants me to point out that's not exactly a picture of me. That's Dave, our owner and president, but that is my contact information. So remember, AIDA, attention, interest, decision, action, and coffees for closers. Stay tuned for the next day of digital. It's going to come at 3:30. I encourage you to take a look at it, and I appreciate your time. See you soon.